Hey, welcome back to the Rise with Tori podcast, where we talk all things faith, fitness, health, nutrition, which we'll talk about a little bit today, and just getting healthy and whole, mind, body, spirit from the inside out. I'm so excited that you are joining me again today, or if this is your first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so glad to have you. Okay, today we are going to talk about protein and why it's important and why we need protein. Now, you may have heard about protein before. You may know a little bit about protein, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to dive into it. And first, I want to start with some scripture. I always like to start with some scripture. Okay, we got Psalm 139, verses 15 through 16. It says, "My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." And so I wanted to start with that scripture, just saying that God knows us best. He made us. I think it is so fascinating, so interesting. The more we learn about our bodies and how they work and how we're designed to work, and our brains, we don't even have to think about certain things before we do them. That's how God so uniquely and intricately designed us, that our bodies just function. I was talking to my kids about this the other day. My son said, what did he say? He brought up something about when he was real little. And he said, I didn't even have to think about doing whatever it was, fill in the blank, when I was little. But now I think about it when I do it. And I'm like, isn't that so cool how God made us, that he created this computer system, our brains, to be able to move our bodies without us even having to think about it. It's just how he designed us. And so the reason why I bring this scripture up is how God created our bodies. He created our bodies to need nutrition, nutrients for our bodies to function, to be able to move, to be able to go about our days, to be able to build strength. And so I think it's so cool that God created us to need protein and carbs and fats and vegetables and all those little micronutrients. He created us to need those things so our bodies can function, so our brains can work, so our eyes can work, just so we can move about our days. And so with that being said, we're going to get into protein and what is the function of it? What does it look like? So let's talk about what protein is. It is one of the 3 macronutrients. Maybe you've heard counting macros. Maybe you've heard about macros and you're like, well, what is macros? Or maybe you do count macros and you know what macros are. So macronutrients it includes carbohydrates, fats, and protein. Those 3 things make up macronutrients. Now, we do have micronutrients, which are the nutrients that fill in those gaps, or that we still need to, but they're not the main essential macronutrients. That's why we call them micro. So think more of vitamin C, things that we get from our veggies and plants and fruits. Those would be your micronutrients. So protein, why do we need it? It is vital for cell turnover, antibody production, so think immune system, and we need it to maintain the structure of cells, hair, bone, and connective tissue, for enzymes to help us digest food. I said antibodies. Sorry, I have my list here. I'm looking down. And then muscle strength and mass, and for energy. Protein, when we eat our protein, it gives us energy. So there are 2 different types of protein. We have our complete protein and our incomplete protein. So our complete proteins, think meat, fish, eggs, dairy, soy, quinoa, buckwheat, hemp, and chia seeds. And then your incomplete proteins would be beans, legumes, nuts, seeds, grains, and collagen is actually considered an incomplete protein. Now, which do you need to eat? Both. God created us that we do need a variety. We need both in our diets, both in what we're eating. Now, I just want to use a disclaimer before we get even further into this. Anytime I say diet, I am referring to what we consume, not a diet, not going on a diet, but I'm referring to what we are eating, what we're putting in our bodies, what we are consuming. Okay. So if you hear me say diet, don't let it trigger you and say, Tori's promoting diets and because y'all know I don't like diets and I don't like to promote like go on a diet, but we are talking about what we are eating, how we are eating, and eating patterns. That's another thing with our diet is our eating patterns. Okay, so why do we need protein? I kind of said some things before about for our immune systems, and I'll get into those a little bit more, but think about this. Every year after we turn 30, we lose about 1% of our muscle every year, up to about 8%, even more every decade. So as we get older, our bodies are naturally losing our muscle. We are losing that muscle. And so if we are not being aware of it, if we are not getting ahead of it, when we turn 30, around there, it's not like, oh, I turned 30 and boom, I'm losing 1% every year, but rough around there. If we are not getting ahead of it, we are going to continue to lose our muscle mass and potentially break our bones, be weaker. That's why as you get older, now listen, here's the thing. Our bodies are naturally deteriorating. That's how God created us. And we go back to that scripture talking about God formed us, he knew us, he created us the way that he did. As we age, that's how God created us to deteriorate, to get older, to slowly kind of fade off because we are not meant to live forever. We're not meant to be in these bodies forever. We are meant to go and be with him in eternity. And so our bodies will naturally decline. And maybe you're getting older, maybe you see that, maybe you feel that in your body. So don't fight against the aging process, okay? That's how God made us, but we can age well, we can age gracefully if we are taking care of our bodies, if we are doing the things to help us and not just neglect, right? We don't want to obsess over our bodies, but we don't want to also neglect and say, well, have that negative mindset of, well, I'm just going to die one day anyway, so I'm not even going to worry about it. No, God calls us to take care of our temples, to honor them and steward them well as we age, so we can continue and go and do the service, go and do the things that he's called us to. Elisa Keaton always says, our bodies are for ability, not for vanity. And so we're keeping our bodies, we're taking care of our bodies so we can be able to go and serve, go and do those things that God has called us to do. If we have taken care of our bodies, it's a lot easier to go when we are stronger, when we are taking care of ourselves, when we're mentally present with the Lord. So how do we maintain this muscle mass? Well, strength training. Maybe that is not your preferred way of training, but y'all, let me tell you, I love strength training. I just love feeling strong. But as we get older, like I said, we lose that 1% every year of our muscle mass. And so when we strength train, what is strength training doing? It's that opposition. It's that heavy load that is tearing down our muscles. When we rest, when we recover, when we eat our protein, it's helping us build our muscles and building them back stronger. Okay. Also, protein, this helps us build back those muscles, helps us aid in recovery as well. It also helps with our immune system. I talked about that. Helps us to aid in coming alongside of, listen, y'all, I'm not a scientist, so bear with me in my terms, but it helps in aiding in cell reproduction so that we can fight against, say we come across a sickness, say we come across a cold, it helps us to fight against that. It keeps us fuller longer. Protein takes longer to digest, and so it will help us feel fuller longer. So think about this. Let's just give an example for a second. If you eat cereal for breakfast, sugary, carb-loaded cereal, typically, don't you feel a little bit hungry or hungrier a little quicker than if you were to eat something filling like some fiber, some protein? Think about, okay, I had an egg and some toast. Yes, have carbs. You want all three of those macronutrients. But when you have the protein in there and not just carbs, not just the quick energy, protein takes longer to digest, and so it helps us feel fuller longer so we can go and be able to do things and not 30 minutes later say, oh my gosh, I need a snack, or oh my gosh, I'm hungry again. I need to eat something again. So keep that in mind when you get to your breakfast or even lunch and dinner. It'll help you overnight when you sleep, breaks down a little bit slower, so that way you can go about your day and keep going. Think about a fire. The carbohydrate is that quick, fast fuel in the fire, where protein helps it last a little bit longer. Okay. All right. It aids in our strong bones. We talked about that. Our hair and our nails. It helps us in the cell turnover. So when we recover, when our hair is growing in, when our nails are growing, it helps in the cell turnover and producing the cells to be able to have strong bones, hair, nails, those things that us women care about. Okay, how much protein do we need? It depends. Everyone's a little bit different. But a few of the things, as I was researching and planning for this, I've seen some things that say 50 grams per day at least. Some say if you're a man, about 75 per day. It depends, one, because of your muscle mass, but also if you're training, that will mean that you need a little bit more, especially in your recovery. About 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. So kind of the quick way you can figure this out is take your body weight, divide it in half. It's around there roughly. If you're training more, you're going to need a little bit more. I would say anywhere from 80 to 100 grams. Now, you can figure out your protein by going on macro calculators online or talking to a trained coach that can help you figure this out for your training style, for how you're wanting to either build muscle or just maintain muscle. Someone will be able to take a deep dive in there with you and be able to figure that out so you can get a little bit more precise. For me, I just try and stay around about 100. I'm trying to think of what mine currently is, about 135, 140. That's about where I try and stay. Do I always hit that? No. Do I track it precisely? Not really, but I've done it before. I've tracked my protein and my macros before, that I kind of know what my day looks like. I kind of know what it looks like as far as getting in enough protein. And when I was tracking, I was not hitting my protein. I'd go over in fat. My carbs were always good, but protein, I always struggled. And so be mindful of that. And we'll talk about ways that you can incorporate more protein, ways that you can change some things to try and get some more protein into your diet, meaning, y'all know what you're eating and consuming. And so just be aware of trying to get at least, I'd say about 50 to 80 grams just to even just maintain. If you're wanting to build, it's going to be a little bit more than that. My take, and I kind of already touched on this, is eat protein at every meal. Okay. Should you eat protein bars or shakes? You do not have to. That is not necessary. I know a lot of people out there push protein shakes and bars and, hey, you need this. Hey, you need. Honestly, no, you should be getting your protein from your food that you're eating. Supplements are a great tool to help you fill in the gaps. And we'll do a whole podcast about supplements in the future. But for right now, let's just say supplements are the cherry on top of, think about a food pyramid as far as what you should be eating. The supplements are the cherry on top. That is like filling in the gaps of maybe where you're kind of not. So for me, like I said, I have a hard time getting in all my protein just by eating. Sometimes I get full and I'm like, oh, I can't eat one more bite of chicken or add more cottage cheese in my eggs. And so protein shakes help me in that quick, fast protein, helps me hit that protein goal that I'm trying to hit. It's the cherry on top, fill in those gaps where I may be lacking. Are you eating enough protein? Here are a few things that can maybe be red flags or signals that you're not eating enough protein. This is where I push the whole idea or thought of being aware of your body. What are the signals? So God created our bodies in a certain way that when we're starting to get sick, when we have an infection, what do? We get a fever. God created our bodies to send us signals and cues to help us be aware of, hey, something's not right here, or hey, I'm not eating enough of fill in the blank, which today we're talking about protein. So maybe you're feeling unusually fatigued or weak, maybe some moodiness, brittle or damaged hair and nails, or maybe some flaky skin, being hungry a lot, being hungry, just like we talked about, those quick carbs, and maybe you're like, I just ate and I'm feeling hungry again. Well, did you have protein with that meal? Are you eating enough protein to help you feel fuller longer? Maybe you're getting sick a lot more or staying sick longer than normal. A slow healing of wounds. We talked about cell turnover, and then edema, swollen feet or hands. Now, just like any signs where like medications say, hey, these are the signs that it could be this, all these things does not mean that, oh, you're low in protein and these are all the warning signs. But these are things that you can pay attention to and start to plug in or fill in those question marks of, man, I feel fatigued, or I'm really hungry after I already ate. And you can start to evaluate. I always talk about dropping the pin, drop the pin on, well, let me think about this for a second. Am I eating enough protein? Let me take a week and just keep track of what I'm eating and how much I'm eating so I can drop the pin and be aware of what I'm consuming and how much I'm consuming. Y'all, tracking, there's nothing wrong with tracking. I know some people get a little, oh, especially if you've struggled and you've gone to the obsessive route where you are just, and listen, if that's you, be mindful of that. Don't trigger yourself. But tracking is great, like I said, to drop the pin on where you're currently at so you can try and make better choices or try and kind of fix those things that, hey, I do feel fatigued. Hey, my nails, my skin are a little brittle. Hey, I am not, or I am hungry right after I eat. Okay, so that will help us in being aware of these things and then making better choices to move forward. And if you are experiencing, especially like the edema with the swollen feet and hands, go talk to your doctor. Don't try and diagnose yourself. Okay, don't Google things. I just had to tell my oldest daughter this. Please don't Google symptoms and things of your body. Talk to your doctor or talk to a nutritionist or someone who is a professional that can help you with these things. Okay, I want to show you real quick. I have, if you're on YouTube, if you are listening, just listen along, but I'll have a link in the show notes where you can go and download this free protein guide. Okay, so if you're watching, I have this little example of protein sources. And so we have on here eggs, we have pork chop. Oh, and it tells you how many on this little sheet. Chicken breast, so eggs is 6 grams per egg. Pork chop is about 19 grams. Chicken breast, 25 grams. Greek yogurt, 9 grams. Salmon, 25 grams. Cottage cheese, about a half a cup, 14 grams. And then steak, 19 grams. And then here are our plant-based protein sources. We have chickpeas, about a quarter cup, 4 grams, peanut butter, 1 tablespoon, about 3.5 grams. Does that surprise you with the peanut butter? So many people talk about how peanut butter is a great source of protein. When you look at the macronutrients on peanut butter, it's actually a fat. Peanut butter is classified as a fat, not a protein. So if you're just, I need to hit my protein and you're just going and eating all that peanut butter, be careful, slow down, because it is not necessarily a protein or a high protein source. It's going to be a higher fat source. Now you can have powdered peanut butter. That would be a lower fat, higher protein source, but it doesn't always taste as good and mix as well. In my opinion, I use it in my shakes, but I digress. Okay, oats, 11 grams, almonds, about half a cup, 3 grams, same as peanut butter. Tofu, 13 grams. Broccoli, 1 cup, about 4 grams, which is more than peanut butter. So go and eat your broccoli. If you're trying to get some protein, go and eat your broccoli. Quinoa, 1 cup cooked, is 8 grams. Edamame, a half a cup, is 12 grams. I love some roasted edamame. Lentils, a quarter cup cooked, is about 4 grams. Okay, so those are some examples. So go ahead and hit that link in the description and you can download this free protein guide to help you. It gives all this information today too that I'm talking about. So if you can't write this down right now, go download that and you'll have all the stuff there. Okay, tips for getting in or eating more protein. I want you to write these down because this is not in that guide. So if you can, write these down or pause and take little notes on your voice note thing. But quinoa, choose quinoa over rice or pasta. Quinoa, like we said, is a higher protein, has higher protein content. So when you're trying to get your grains in, choose quinoa over rice or pasta. Now, am I saying don't eat rice or pasta? No. But if you're trying to eat more protein, some of these swaps would be great to help you do that. If that's your goal, these swaps would help you in that. I love rice. I'm going to continue to eat rice. I love pasta. I'm going to continue to eat pasta. But if I'm trying to hit my protein, I'm going to do quinoa or doing a bean-based pasta. So like the, what's it called? I can't even think about it. Banza, B-A-N-Z-A, however you say it. Those are made with beans or chickpeas instead of flour. So that would also be another good option to get in your protein. If you do want to have pasta, choose a bean-based pasta that can help you with that. Add beans to anything, add beans to your soups, add beans to your meats, add beans to anything because they're high in protein too. Swap out sour cream or anything that revolves around sour cream or something. I'm trying to think of something else off the top of my head. Heavy cream maybe for Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is higher in protein and I feel like it tastes almost exactly the same as sour cream. So when I have tacos or something chili that I would put sour cream on, I actually take a scoop of my Greek yogurt, plain, unflavored Greek yogurt instead of sour cream. Adding cottage cheese to stuff. Okay, some of y'all are going to be like, oh, cottage cheese. I used to think that cottage cheese looked disgusting and I wasn't even going to try it. Then I saw someone add it to their protein shakes and she said, you can't even taste it. And I was like, you know what? Let me try this. Let me see. And y'all, you can't even taste it. In fact, it makes it creamier. I was like, this is amazing. This is like having a milkshake. It added more protein in there, but it made it thicker and I can't even taste it. So try adding cottage cheese to your eggs. It makes your eggs creamier. You can blend your cottage cheese and add it to soups or pasta if you want to put it in with your spaghetti or something, blending it so it's not so chunky and adding it into your meals. I'm telling you, it is amazing. I put it in my Greek yogurt for a little extra protein and put, actually my Greek yogurt, I'll do like a unsweetened or a no sugar. I'm trying to think of the brand, Oikos, I think it is. And Dannon might have one, but a sugar-free one, flavored. Sometimes they have like the strawberry cottage cheese or strawberry. I have cottage cheese on my brain. Strawberry cheesecake, and I'll add in cottage cheese to give it a little extra protein, and it makes it creamy. Using collagen, so unflavored collagen is great. You can put it in your coffee. There's powder kind, there are pill kinds, I think, but if you can just put it in your meals, or you can take the pill form, or using a protein drink or a protein, what's it called? Creamer. You can put that in your coffee as well. So I like the Fairlife protein drinks, and I'll use that if I do have coffee, in my coffee, or I actually use it in my protein shakes as well. So I'll use that instead of almond milk. The vanilla flavor, the chocolate flavor, they are delicious. I already said use protein as creamer. And then keep easy to use proteins handy. Keep them on deck. Keep them with you. So like beef jerky, beef sticks, boiled eggs, keep them ready and available. So that way when you are out or you are on the go or you do need some quick protein, you can just grab it and you're good to go. Eat your protein first thing in the morning. So like we talked about, instead of cereal, having your protein, maybe some eggs with cottage cheese and some toast and a side of fruit, something like that. Or you can make a protein oatmeal or overnight oats where you have your oats, because those have protein. You can put your protein powder or a protein drink or cottage cheese or whatever your protein source is, and a little bit of maybe stevia or some fruit for natural sweetener. Mix it all up, let it sit in your fridge overnight, and you could eat it in the morning, or you can make that in the morning. Top your food with some chopped almonds. Now remember, don't go crazy on them, but it could add a little bit of protein to your foods, to your snacks. And then last case scenario, if you are having trouble hitting that protein, like we said, supplementing with protein shakes or a good protein bar, check the sugar, please. Not all proteins are created the same, the protein shake. So just please make sure that you're getting a source or using a source that is third-party tested and that doesn't use all kinds of fillers and all that nasty junk that we don't want in our protein bars or protein powders. But it is a good way to be able to add that protein into your diet without, trying to consume or eat so much. And maybe you just feel full and you're like, I can't even do this. This is a cherry on top. That is a basic rundown of protein, why it's important, how much we should be eating, what it looks like. Go and download that free protein guide. Check the link in the description, look in there, and go eat your protein. Go get it in, okay? Please let me know what topics, what things you would like me to talk about in the future. I plan on having some guests come alongside of me and to be able to discuss some things. I want to have discussions with people. If you want to be on my podcast, let me know. I want to talk to real people. I want to talk to you. I want to see what is on your mind, what makes you tick, what keeps you going when times get hard, what keeps you connected to God, what keeps him at the center of your life. Okay, let me know. I love y'all. We'll see you on the next one.